Near Denali Highway, mid-morning. A wolf pup stumbles from the brush, ribs showing, fur dull and scattered with clumps of old sap and grit. It crosses the gravel shoulder with unsteady legs, head low, tongue dragging at the dust. When the woman opens her car door, the pup doesn't hesitate. It jumps, scrabbling over the floor mat and curling beside the passenger seat in a shivering knot. There is no growl, no hesitation, only breathless, urgent motion and a sound too soft to call a whimper. The door hangs open, and the woman doesn't move to close it. She crouches instead, careful not to make the shape seem larger than she is. The pup's chest rises too fast, its flanks stuttering against its bones. For a long minute it does not look at her. Its nose lifts, twitching, sweeping the air in short, frantic bursts. Tessa, a park ranger on her way back from an early trail inspection, recognizes what she sees. A pup too young to survive alone. Wild animals don't come near humans unless something in their world has already gone wrong. She watches the tremor in its legs and sees the dried mud clinging to its tail, the cracked pads on its feet. It had been running a long time. Her hand remains still on the edge of the door. The pup does not flinch. Its head lowers until its chin rests on the edge of the seat, ears tilted back, eyes half-lidded but never closed. A faint, broken sound escapes its throat. Not a cry, not a growl. Something between effort and memory. She doesn't speak right away. There is no need. The pup has already made its decision. She steps back, retrieving a half-empty bottle of water from the side pocket. A plastic bowl rolls under her seat. It had held dog food weeks ago during a rescue run. She fills it slowly, the sound quiet. The pup lifts its head slightly, watching. When she places the bowl within reach, the animal doesn't move for several seconds. Then, cautiously, it shifts forward and drinks. Its movements are slow, strained, as though the act itself drains what little it has left. Drops spill from the sides of its mouth, soaking the seat. When it finishes, it exhales through its nose and sinks back into the shape it had taken before. She reaches for the emergency radio clipped to her belt and quietly calls in the sighting. Juvenile wolf, no sign of aggression. Malnourished, exhausted. Looks no older than 10 weeks. Possibly separated from the pack or driven out. The words are steady, practiced, but her eyes remain on the pup as she speaks. If it had been chased off, something forced it. If it had wandered too far and lost the trail, the distance back may be impossible. Either way, if it hadn't found the car today, it would not have lived to see another night. There is no collar, no tag, no injury that she can see beyond the damage to its feet. A wild pup, not someone's lost hybrid. She resists the urge to touch it. Touch is not always trust, especially not here, where instinct still weighs more than comfort. Still, the animal hasn't tried to escape. It hasn't growled. It has chosen stillness over fear. The decision itself is a message. For several minutes, the wind moves only the long grass along the shoulder. No howl follows. No shape appears on the ridgeline or across the flats. The pup is truly alone. If she drives now, she takes it farther from whatever trace remains of its origin. But if she stays, it may lose the fragile strength it's using just to lie there. She speaks softly for the first time. "You're safe now." The pup shifts its ears slightly at the sound, but its eyes remain fixed beyond the windshield, toward something only it can sense. She places her hand lightly near the seat, not touching, not reaching, only there, in quiet offer. The pup does not pull away. Its eyes blink once, slowly, before it rests its head against the fabric again. Nothing else moves. Not the trees, not the road, not even the pup's breath for several seconds. In that stillness, Tessa feels the weight of what this choice might mean. If it trusts her, it may survive. If not, nothing else will matter. The pup collapses fully into the seat, its back legs giving out with a slow slide. Its chest rises too fast, too shallow, not from fear, but exhaustion. The tremble in its shoulders is no longer subtle. Each breath seems to shudder through the small frame before slipping out in silence. Tessa kneels beside the open door, one knee in the dust, watching the patterns of the pup's ribs under its thin coat. Wolves are built for distance, but not like this. Not alone, not without pause, not this young. She speaks again, just above a whisper, letting the steadiness of her voice carry something quieter than command. It's okay. You can rest. Her hands remain where they are. Fingers curled lightly against her thighs. The air holds little scent now. Dry bark, distant creek water, sun-warmed gravel. No pack nearby. No answer to the pup's earlier cry. She can see how raw the pads have become, the deep red where skin should still be calloused. Some spots have cracked and bled, dirt rubbed into the lines. One back paw twitches slightly when a breeze moves across it, but the rest of the body remains folded and low, nose pressed into the floor mat, tail tucked. The fur beneath the belly is darkened with old urine, and the soft bones of the pelvis are visible from this close. The pup hadn't stopped running because it found safety. It stopped because it no longer could. Tessa reaches into her supply pack, retrieving gauze and a squeeze bottle of antiseptic diluted for wildlife wounds. She works slowly, dipping the edge of a cloth into clean water first. There's no collar, no microchip, not that she expected one. This pup is wild-born. Whatever made it cross that line into human space had already erased the boundary it was raised to keep. The moment she touches the edge of the rear paw, the pup's body flinches, but it doesn't pull away. It lifts its head slightly, eyes cloudy with dehydration, then lowers it again. She cleans the first wound with barely a drop of sound between them. There is no protest, no growl, only breath and trembling. The road behind them remains empty. No radio call back yet from the station. If help comes, it will take time. The wilderness here doesn't rush. Most of the time, neither do its rangers. But this is different. This pup won't make it to sunset in this state. If the organs begin to shut down from lack of water or injury-induced fever, she'll lose it without even knowing when the line was crossed. As she wraps the second paw with softened gauze, she notes the way the front legs remain stretched, claws curled under. Not defensive, just collapsed. The pup is no longer resisting, but it is not trusting either. It is surviving moment to moment, unsure whether this stillness is safety or the edge of something else. She places a folded jacket beneath its side to lift the chest slightly to ease the weight off the lungs. Its body shifts with a soft, involuntary groan. The sound is faint, but it cuts straight through the silence around them. Wolves don't groan for comfort. They groan when muscles fail to hold what's necessary to breathe. She watches the face, the slight flutter of the eyelids, the tension around the snout. If the pup's system is beginning to crash, they won't have long. Tessa places a small bottle cap of electrolyte solution beside the water bowl. The pup's nose moves once, drawn by the smell, but it doesn't rise again. She leans closer, voice still low. Come on, just a little more. No response. Not yet, but the nostrils twitch again. A faint, deliberate pull of air. She waits, unmoving. If the pup lifts its head again, it means the body is still fighting. If not, she'll have to choose between rushing toward help and staying beside it as it fades. For now, the silence holds. The only movement is the slow settling of the pup's flank against her jacket, and the wind brushing dust across the tracks they made getting here. Tessa leaves the car running, its hum faint against the open stillness. The pup remains curled on the seat, wrapped loosely in a blanket she'd pulled from the back. It doesn't move. Eyes shut now, breath slower but shallow. She steps away carefully, boots pressing into the fine grit that lines the shoulder. Less than 100 meters back, the trail begins. The prints are sharp in the morning light, preserved by the dry air. Small pads, narrow toes, a few missteps that overlap in strange angles. Wolf tracks, but not only the pups. She counts at least 3 others. One heavier, likely an adult, and another set that moves with a slight stagger. Between the cleaner imprints, she sees the signs of distress, drag marks, as if one body had begun to falter and was half pulled or left to stumble behind. In one stretch of soil darkened with old dampness, a single spot glistens red. Not fresh, but not old either. Blood smeared at the edge of crushed moss. Something happened here. Not a hunt. There are no prey signs, no chase pattern. The tracks run straight without hesitation, and then scatter. She kneels, touching the edge of one large paw print, still visible where it pressed deeper than the rest. Then she rises, following where they lead. The brush thickens past the ditch, rising into low spruce and birch stands. The trail curves behind a shallow rise where the prints begin to disappear beneath fallen needles. She pauses here, listening. The air is quiet. No calls, no movement, just the soft reach of breeze through thin branches. If a pack had passed recently, they're moving silently now. Wolves can vanish into shadow even when their prints scream across the ground. She scans for broken stems, fur caught on bark, and finds both, a tuft of gray snagged against a rough branch, the hairs long and coarse. Farther in, she finds more blood. Just drops, spaced far apart. Not a trail, not enough for a kill site. An injury being carried. Likely one of the adults. She marks the location mentally. If she's to call in additional rangers, they'll need coordinates. But for now, she keeps walking. The light filters soft through the canopy, casting patterns that make the earth look like water. Every few steps the tracks reappear, always leading forward, always away from where the pup had come. No circles, no returns. They didn't turn back for it. She crouches again where the trail breaks at a low creek bed. The stones are wet, recently disturbed, moss torn from the edges. They crossed here, likely a day ago. The stagger in the prints returns on the opposite bank, one body favoring a side. She knows what this means: injury, fatigue, or illness, and if the adult was weak, they may have left the pup to increase the group's speed. Not cruelty, necessity. Survival forces silence more than it allows farewells. She rises and turns back slowly. The prints fade into deeper forest. She will not pursue without backup. A pack, even injured, is not something to track alone. But what she's found is enough. The pup was not lost. It was left. Not abandoned by choice, but by pressure, danger, distance. If they had a chance to return, they hadn't taken it. As she steps back into the clearing, the road shimmers beyond the trees. The car waits, heat rising from its roof. The pup is still visible through the window, head pressed to the blanket, unmoving. Tessa walks faster now. The trail tells her what's at stake. If she waits too long, the pup may not be alive when the pack returns, if they ever do. The trail ends in a quiet, unnatural way. Past the creek and into a pocket of flattened grass, the prints stop, not with a fade or a curve, but with abrupt finality. Tessa stands at the edge of it, her boots brushing stalks bent under a weight that had lain still too long. The earth here holds the scent of blood, faint but unmistakable, carried in the warmth of the late morning. She kneels and touches the dampness, watching how it clings to the edge of her glove. Not fresh, not dry. A window of hours. The kind of time where life could still hang on or already be past retrieval. There are no bodies, only remnants. Tufts of gray fur stuck to grass stalks. One long claw, separated cleanly from its toe, nestled in the dirt like a forgotten tool. The prints around the clearing are chaotic, not a formation of hunting or herding, but scattering, circling, confusion. One set runs off alone, deep impressions showing where speed overtook caution. A predator had come through here. She can't say what yet, but the silence that hangs here is not peace, Its aftermath. Whatever happened, it ended in this space. And something didn't walk away. From behind her, thin across the clearing, a sound carries. High-pitched, strained, barely more than breath pushed through pain. The pup. Tessa rises. It must have tried to shift position or called out in its sleep. The cry doesn't last, but it freezes her where she stands. That voice shouldn't be strong enough to reach her here unless something inside it believed she might return. She looks once more at the grass, at the broken line of blood, the place where a body was dragged and then lifted. No bones, no flesh, but no signs of scavengers either. Whatever did this moved fast and left clean. She marks the coordinates on her radio, mentions the fur, the absence of a carcass, the urgency of return. This is no longer simple tracking. If this was a kill site, and the pup escaped, then what remains is a question of whether it was chased or overlooked. And, if overlooked, for how long? As she walks back through the brush, every snapped twig underfoot feels louder than it should. The land is too still, the kind of stillness that follows a warning passed between animals long before humans hear a sound. The pup's cry comes again, softer now, like a breath pulled back in. She picks up her pace. Back at the car, the heat has built inside the cab. The pup's head rests awkwardly on its foreleg, one ear flicking at her approach. Its eyes blink open, unfocused, dry. She pours more water and brushes the edge of a damp cloth across its snout. It flinches slightly, but then settles. Its body is warm now. Too warm. A low fever rising. Tessa places the first cool compress behind its neck. The pup lets out a low, involuntary groan. The kind that means pain is beginning to replace shock. She presses her hand lightly near the shoulder. Steady and flat. "You're all right," she says softly. It doesn't respond, but it doesn't move away either. If what happened in the clearing was an attack, the rest of the pack may be injured, or worse. If the predator still lingers, the pup's presence might draw it back. If she drives away now, she may miss something crucial. But if she stays, the fever might take hold too fast to reverse. Both directions hold risk. She sits beside the open door, one hand resting quietly near the pup's side, and waits for the answer to show itself in the wind. The pup hasn't moved from its position in the seat, but its breathing has changed. It's slower now, more rhythmic, no longer on the edge of collapse. Tessa crouches beside the open door again, placing the shallow bowl of water within reach. The air inside the vehicle is thick with warmth from the midday sun, and the scent of dry fur, dust, and faint antiseptic clings to the fabric. She slides the bowl closer, not speaking, letting the motion itself be the offer. The pup's eyes follow the movement, sharpness flickering behind exhaustion. It shifts its weight slightly, a small twitch of its forelegs, and leans forward. The first sip is clumsy, water spilling over the edge as its tongue moves too fast. Then it settles into a rhythm, short, desperate pulls, its eyes darting between the bowl and her hands. Tessa remains still, her knees pressed to the gravel, one hand resting just beside her thigh. Each swallow seems to lengthen its breath, drawing it deeper into the lungs. The curve of its spine relaxes a degree at a time. No sounds come from its throat, only the soft scrape of its tongue against the bowl and the faint thump of its ribs against the seat fabric. She watches for signs of internal bleeding, twitching eyelids, gasps between swallows, sudden stops. But nothing breaks the pattern. When the pup lifts its head, water drips from its muzzle in silver threads. It licks once at its lips, then turns its eyes back to her. The gaze holds, not a challenge, not submission, only awareness. It knows she is there. It is watching to see what she does next. That pause is something she's seen before in other rescues. Not trust, not yet, but a fracture in the wall that instinct builds. A pause long enough for something human to step in. She speaks again, barely above breath. You're doing good. The pup's ears twitch at the sound. Then it lowers its head again, pressing the side of its snout against the blanket. Its eyes remain open now, fixed outward. Tessa reaches slowly into the back of the vehicle and pulls forward a narrow strip of gauze. She changes the wrapping on one of the rear paws, working gently, feeling how the muscles have begun to firm beneath the fur. The worst of the shock has passed. What comes next depends on whether the pup's body can hold what little strength it's gathering. If it can walk, even slowly, there's a chance it may guide her to what remains of its pack. Wolves imprint their roots, remember landmarks, move in lines passed down through scent and sound. If its den is still standing, or if any of its kin are still alive, it may try to return once the panic clears from its body. But that depends on survival first, and survival depends on energy. She tears a protein bar into small pieces, setting them on a clean cloth a hand's width away from the bowl. The pup doesn't reach for them. Not yet, but its nose flares once, then again. She sees the first curl of interest. Still, it waits. Perhaps instinct urges it to conserve effort. Perhaps memory keeps it from showing want in the presence of something it cannot name. But something has shifted. It drank in her presence. It did not retreat. That is more than instinct. It is choice. Tessa leans back, letting space settle between them again. The heat outside thickens and clouds begin to gather far on the horizon. She watches the pup's flank rise and fall, slower, steadier. The pieces of food remain untouched, but not forgotten. If it eats, if it stands, it may show her something the trail could not. But if the fever returns, everything they've gained will dissolve. For now, the choice is the pup's alone. She will wait. The last edge of sun falls low across the trees as the pup shifts. It had slept most of the afternoon, curled tight against the blanket, twitching occasionally as though some old memory moved through its limbs. Now, with the light cooling and shadows lengthening, it rises, first one paw, then another, legs quivering under the effort. Tessa stands beside the driver's side, watching from a respectful distance. The door remains open. The pup pauses there, its body narrow and unsteady in the frame, nose lifted. A breeze catches its fur and its ears rotate toward the ridge beyond the road, a silent axis between instinct and choice. It steps down, not with confidence, but purpose. Its paws touch the gravel softly, one after the other, as if the land itself might reject the weight. Tessa doesn't move. She lets it walk, 20 feet, 30, nose to the air, tail low but not tucked. When it glances back, just once, she falls into step behind. No leash, no sound, only the quiet pact that had formed between them. The trail bends upward into the foothills, where birch and alder gather close along a narrow track used more often by deer than by rangers. The path winds steadily, climbing between root and stone. The pup doesn't rush. It stops often to sniff at tree bases, at broken branches, at the dust collected where the trail curves. Each place seems to offer a possibility, a trace of scent or memory carried in the moss. It moves with the body of something fragile, but the mind of something driven. Not random, not wandering. This is movement with direction. Tessa keeps 5 or 6 paces behind, her footsteps slow, measured. She carries no gear beyond a water bottle and gauze tucked into her vest. There is no need to prepare for capture, no call for backup. This moment belongs to the animal and the silence it chooses to walk in. Every few minutes, the pup turns slightly, one ear tilted back as if checking her presence without breaking stride. She doesn't speak. There's no need. The trees speak more than she could now. Their creak in the breeze, the hush of dry leaves brushing against each other, the slow exhale of evening through high branches. As the slope rises, the prints of other wolves appear again in patches of soft soil, older, fainter, but clear in their direction. They match what she'd seen earlier near the creek. the same curve in gait, the same deep set of one rear paw. She marks them without stepping over. The pup pauses when it finds them, placing its own feet inside the old prints like a shadow rejoining the shape it had once belonged to. Then it continues, more certain now, its body low but steady. If this path leads to a den or resting ground, what they find may not be life. It may be bones, or nothing at all. But the pup is walking toward it without fear, without hesitation. That means something still calls to it. If they reach the end and no one answers, she will carry it back herself. But if the call is answered, if even one shape emerges from the brush, then everything will change. They pass a final curve where the trees thin, and a shallow rise opens into a low clearing rimmed in moss and shale. The pup stops. Its ears tilt forward, eyes locked ahead. Nothing moves yet, but it doesn't turn back. It stands, breath even, head high. Tessa halts behind it, letting the moment stretch. If there is a voice left in the hills, this is when it will speak. The light has softened to gold when the wolves reach the edge of the ridge. Their movement is smooth now. No more stumbles, no hesitation. The adult pair leads with calm certainty, and the pup follows close between them, small but no longer weak. Its steps fall in rhythm with theirs, unsteady only in the way of youth, not exhaustion. Tessa remains at the edge of the clearing, still as the trees around her, letting distance open without resistance. She does not call after them, does not move to follow. That part is done. What happens next belongs to them. The slope rises one last time before falling away into a long line of alder and birch. The trail narrows, framed by tall grasses turned copper by the setting sun. It's there, just before the forest swallows the path, that the pup hesitates. It lingers at the edge, one paw lifted mid-step. The adult wolves do not turn back, but they slow, sensing the pause behind them. The pup turns its head. Just enough to look back over the distance it had come. Its eyes find the figure at the clearing's edge, the one who waited, who followed, who didn't leave. It holds the look. Not long, not searching, just enough for recognition to settle. Just enough for something quiet to pass between them that words could never carry. Then it lowers its head and slips into the grass. One step, then another. The taller wolf touches its shoulder with a brief nudge, and the three vanish into the underbrush. Not rushed, not hidden, only gone. The moment breaks with a quiet that is somehow heavier than sound. No parting call, no second glance. The last of the light catches on the leaves, turning their edges pale with reflection, and then even that fades. Tessa does not move for a long while. Her legs are stiff, the weight of the day catching up now that motion is no longer necessary. A wind rolls through the hollow behind her, carrying the smell of pine sap and dry soil. She feels it slip across her shoulders and lift the corner of the blanket still draped across the passenger seat. The car door remains open. The bowl of water sits empty where the pup last drank. She steps toward it slowly, each movement deliberate. There is no rush. The urgency that brought her here has passed. She lifts the bowl, brushes out a few pine needles, and folds the blanket. Beneath it, the seat holds the faint shape where the pup had curled for hours, pressed to fabric not for comfort, but survival. The imprint remains, barely visible, but enough. She closes the door gently. The click feels louder than it should in the open air. She doesn't start the engine right away. Instead, she leans against the frame, eyes on the last place she saw movement. The woods have already begun to reclaim it. The grasses shift back into place. The wind has taken the last scent trail. She listens for a sound, a distant call, the rustle of undergrowth, but nothing comes. Just the slow deepening of evening and the soft hiss of leaves overhead. Far down the ridge a branch snaps, clean, deliberate, a single sound, then silence again. Not the kind that signals absence, but the kind that confirms life continues, just unseen. Tessa exhales. Not relief, not sorrow. Something steadier. Something earned. She steps into the driver's seat and lets her hands rest on the wheel without turning the key. The cabin holds the memory of the pup's scent. Raw earth, dust, faint warmth. It will fade by morning. She doesn't wipe the seat. Some traces are meant to remain, even if no one else will see them. She watches the tree line once more, now bathed in the soft shadow of twilight. Nothing stirs. No eyes reflect. In the end, this was not a rescue. Not in the way most would understand it. There was no cage, no clinic, no tags or reports. Only presence, only stillness. She had shown up, and the pup had chosen to live. That, here, is enough. She starts the engine. The sound rolls low across the gravel, then settles. The tires crunch softly as the vehicle turns back toward the long stretch of road. Behind her, the forest holds its breath. Then it exhales, taking back its own. The sun dips lower, and the trees cast long shadows over the path. Somewhere, out of sight but not far, a pup walks between two guardians, remembered but unreachable now. The light fades, and Tessa drives on, carrying nothing but the quiet weight of what she witnessed and the knowledge that wild things, when they return, leave no goodbye. The trees take them in slowly. One by one, the wolves slip into shadow. First the adult male with the uneven stride, then the darker female who turns once to check behind. The pup lingers only a moment. Framed in the narrow corridor of light between two tall birch trunks. Its fur, still uneven from illness, catches the last threads of sunlight as it stands there, unmoving, body half turned toward the dark. Tessa does not call to it. She doesn't move. Her breath curls faintly in the cold air, arms crossed loosely against her chest. The moment holds like a shallow breath waiting to exhale. Then the pup glances back, just once. A still, quiet turn of the head. Its ears are forward. Not in fear, but recognition, eyes soft but steady. There's no sound, no cry. Just that look, brief, weightless, and full. Then it turns and disappears into the trees, not running, not urged forward. Only walking, as if it had never truly belonged anywhere else. The brush folds in behind it, swallowing all three shapes until the woods stand empty again. The scent they left behind is faint, trailing in pieces across the ridge. Fur, pine, old blood, and something harder to name. Not trust, not memory, but presence. A scent trail not meant to guide, only to mark where something ended and something else began. The sun is gone now, only a cold orange glow bleeding behind the hills. Tessa stays where she is, the grass brushing lightly at her boots as the breeze comes up from below. Her hands settle into the pockets of her jacket, the warmth there barely holding against the sudden drop in temperature. Still, she doesn't shiver. The chill seems right somehow. Honest. The day is closing, and with it, a story that no one else will ever fully know. Not in words, not in pictures, only in pieces, prints in the soil, an empty seat with tufts of gray fur, the quiet damp of a gauze bandage tucked into her bag. She watches the tree line long after the wolves are gone. It doesn't matter that they're out of sight now. She's seen enough wild disappear to know when it doesn't plan to come back. That pup, too young, too broken when it arrived, walked into the forest with its head level and its body steady. That was the answer. Not the one she hoped for, maybe, but the one nature had given. Not everything that comes seeking help is meant to stay near humans. Not everything rescued needs to be owned. She thinks of the moment the door first opened, of the sudden weight of a wild creature leaping into the unknown, of the small body trembling against the seat, the long hours between breath and collapse. She hadn't asked for it, hadn't searched for a wolf, but the wild came anyway and for once allowed itself to be held. Now, it is gone. But the silence it leaves is not empty. The land feels different, less distant, more personal. She steps back from the ridge, one last glance at the path where the grasses bend, marking the route of small pause, of reunion, of return. The car waits downhill, its engine cold now, windows reflecting the last dim light. She walks slowly, her boots pressing soft into the earth. Behind her, the woods say nothing. They don't need to. As she reaches the driver's side, a gust lifts the edge of her sleeve and carries the last of the wolves' scent into the open. She closes the door without hurry. The engine turns once, then catches, humming low beneath her feet. Her eyes rest one last time on the ridge, now shadowed in full. The wild has taken back its own. She drives away without a word. No farewell. Just the quiet presence of the pup's final look, pressed somewhere deep behind her ribs. A single image that will stay, long after prints fade, long after winter claims the hill.